see native advertising as the future because the economics are there. If you juxtapose the buyer's journey with content production priorities, if you look at those two, they're in equilibrium, okay? However, if you then turn and look at the paid distribution channels and the priorities and the budgets that are spent, they're actually the opposite of the buyer's journey and the opposite of content priorities, okay? Because of that, there's real economic pressure for the channels of distribution to actually align with our content priorities, our production priorities. What that means is simple, that the money we as marketers are spending at the bottom and the middle of the funnel on things like PPC, traditional sponsorships, display advertising, so on and so forth, those are built to promote our mid to bottom funnel content. Well, as marketers and with the rise of content marketing, we've moved up funnel. So now we're creating very top funnel, helpful, non-branded in many cases type content, from blog posts to infographics, things like that. Well, they only have one channel for distribution, and that's native advertising, for paid distribution, that is. And as a result, since we as marketers are spending much more time, energy, and effort on creating top funnel content, it's just a matter of time until we spend that same amount of time, energy, and effort at the top of the funnel on native advertising. It's coming. It just makes economic sense. I'm not gonna go way into the future on this answer, but I will say the next step, I believe, for brands is to actually align their native advertising with their buyer's journey by utilizing both native advertising and retargeting. So think of marketing automation, email marketing automation. The concept is simple. Somebody consumes top funnel content, then you use email to deliver them mid-funnel content. If that person then consumes that mid-funnel content, then you email them bottom funnel content. And if they convert on that, then you would typically contact that individual. Well, you can do the same thing using native advertising. We call it storyscaping. So you do not deliver anyone mid to bottom funnel content unless they've already engaged with and consumed your top funnel content. So you're actually guiding them logically through the buyer's journey using native advertising. That is the near-term future, in my opinion, for most brands. B2B, it would work great. So for example, I can talk about my own business. So I could use native advertising to deliver my latest ebook that I wrote, the Native Advertising Manifesto, okay? Then if somebody downloads that, the next native ad unit that they see could be a case study on a native advertising campaign that we did for a brand. Now, if they then engage and download that content, then the next ad they may see could be offering them a free consultation for native advertising. And all while this is happening, I'm also retargeting them with the same messages for the middle and the bottom of the funnel, as well as emailing them through marketing automation the same thing. So it's just another channel that we can use as marketers to nurture prospective customers down the buyer's journey. A good native advertising case story, I would say, is characterized by context. So at the end of the day, I don't want to deliver a message about the 10 best ways to run a marathon to someone that doesn't run, okay? So I want to deliver context and something prudent to that person. So if the article is about running, for example, that my native ad unit shows up on, I want my native ad unit to be about that content, okay? So I want to deliver that context, but I want to also make sure that that content is relevant to that reader as well. So to me, that's what characterizes good native advertising: context. One of the things that you can do is through your targeting mechanisms. One of the ways you can target in a programmatic way is through context, so that your ad is contextually relevant to the article that it shows in and around. Otherwise, I mean, like I said, you don't want a jogging or running ad unit necessarily to be next to a how to lose 50 pounds in 2 weeks type scenario. You got to have context is what I'm saying. Well, there's a lot actually. The biggest threat that I see right now is really a lack of understanding, because you've got these salespeople that have been around a long time for publishers, for example, that are used to selling display units and email campaigns and things like that. And then you give them native advertising and say, go out and sell this. Well, there's a disconnect because they don't really, not all of them, but a lot of them don't really understand it, or they're uncomfortable because it's new. And then you go back to the media buyer or the marketer, people like me, where we're used to buying display units and doing PPC and retargeting and those types of media buys. I might not be educated on native. So we've got a perfect storm. We've got salespeople that aren't perfectly educated in native, and then we've got buyers who aren't necessarily perfectly educated in native. So that's a big threat. Publishers need to seek out resources to educate their staff. And the last book that I wrote is the Native Advertising Manifesto. I mean, selfishly, that's a good start. It's free to download, just Google search it. If you're a salesperson at a publishing house and you want to really have a good solid foundation of native advertising, download my free book and read it. So the trends in terms of just adoption and use, the trends are pointing very high. In fact, the main sponsor, Ad You Like, here for this event, they predicted that there's going to be $59 billion spent worldwide in 2018 on native advertising. That's a huge number. It just gets bigger and bigger and bigger every year. And eMedia and some other outlets have predictions that are very, very similar. And the graph just goes up and to the right. Yeah, so to target, I believe in the future, think 2030, 2050, the targeting for native advertising and other forms of advertising can really be based on something simple. This little device right here today is monitoring my heart rate. I see a day in the future where ads will be so personalized, they're going to be based on our emotional state at the time the ad is delivered. I believe that's coming. It's just a matter of time. The infrastructure is being built right now. The targeting at that level of personalization will be a pure form of delivering the right content to the right person at the right time on the right channel. I mean, that is the Garden of Eden for native advertising.